Welcome to Mech Talk. Hi, my name is Yusuf, and I'm a real life, full time flat rate mechanic. And I decided to make this podcast because I don't see any full time flat rate mechanic really talking about the industry in any kind of positive light. I think that being a mechanic is great. I think if you're a young man or young woman and you're not sure what to do, I think you should be a mechanic. I think if you're stuck in some kind of dead end job or you're just really tired of working with your degree and you're not sure what you want to get into, I think you should be a mechanic. I think right now is the golden age for being a mechanic because you have a lot of old men retiring, a lot of jobs being available and open, and cars are actually pretty difficult to fix nowadays. Of course, the industry is not perfect. There's a lot of things that are not perfect with the industry, but it's pretty great to wake up every day and make a living fixing cars, at least for me. So, the way I'm going to run this podcast right now, it's going to be once a week, and I will be segmenting it into three sections. Okay, so the first section, I'm going to call it the rundown. I'm basically going to give you a rundown of my week. I'm going to let you know about my flagged hours, going to let you know about the kind of jobs I was doing that week, and it'll give you like a taste of what it's like to be a full-time flat rate technician. Um, a couple of things about myself. I have 4 master technician certifications. I'm a Ford Master Tech, Ford Senior Master Gasoline, Ford Senior Master Diesel, an ASC Master Technician, and I am now working on my Kia Master Technician certification. I switched brands. I was with Ford for a number of years. Kind of really sick of the brand, really sick of the corporate, really sick of the culture, and decided to move on to a different brand. And I chose Kia for a couple of reasons. I'll probably get into that in another episode. But I like the company. I like that their cars are actually extremely innovative, and I like that they're still very repairable. It's a lot of fun, and I've been at this Kia dealership for 2 months now. Actually, 2 months today. I've been at this Kia dealership, and it's been pretty great. So let's start with a rundown. So what do I have? It was Thanksgiving week, so it was a short week. Thursday we had off on Thursday for Thanksgiving, and my dealership, pretty good place. They gave us all 8 hours for our day off, so it was a full paid day off, which was really nice. And I hit 38.5 flagged hours. Now, what's a flagged hour? Being a flagged hour, so the way mechanics get paid is through a system called flat rate. Flat rate is basically the blue collar way of being on commission. So let's say your car needs brakes and a brake job is an hour and a half long. If I finish the brake job in an hour, I get paid for the hour and a half. But on the flip side, if I hit a snag, I don't know what I'm doing, and it takes me 2 hours, I only get paid for an hour and a half. So you got to be good at what you do. If you're good at what you do and you have a solid amount of clients and your parts department is solid and you know what you're doing, you could make a pretty good amount of money. So I'm still relatively new. I do not have Kia certifications for warranty stuff. So there's a lot of work right now that I can't do. Working on that, actually, there's a pretty cool process where I can kind of, because I have my Ford certifications, I can get fast tracked to about half of my Kia certifications. So pretty excited about that. It's going to take some time. So basically doing cash jobs and PDIs, basically new car preparations and everything. And without having, just only 8 hours for Thanksgiving, I managed to flag 38 and a half hours this week. It's pretty cool. Mostly tires and maintenance work, nothing crazy. Not a lot of diag. I got a diag customer I'll tell you about in a little bit here. But mostly tires. It's winter. Winter's coming up. It's winter tire season, snow tire season. A lot of people coming in, getting the tires done. I will say that um, doing tire swaps definitely is a learned skill. Before getting back into Kia, I actually spent 3 years teaching automotive technology at a community college because I lost my job during the lockdown. So I decided to go and teach for a while, and I went back to the dealership because I really wanted to just do it again, man. I really missed working. I really missed grinding. I really missed being physical. So it's been a while since I've done tires, but I got really good at it. I probably bang out a set of tires on like a normal car in about 40 minutes, which I think isn't too bad considering everyone is doing tires at the same time. And my bay is all the way on the other side of the shop, very far away from the tire machine. Maintenance work, you're talking about your oil changes, serpentine belts, brakes, things of that nature, some suspension work that I've sold, some alignments that I've sold, of course, that cars need. And I get to do, sometimes I get lucky and we have a cash job that's some kind of diagnostics. I love to work my brain and do stuff. So I had a really interesting customer come in. This customer did his own diag on his Kia, I think it's called a Sedona, the minivan. So it was like a 2018 Kia minivan, and he had a parasitic draw. So a parasitic draw basically means that something is consuming the charge from the battery when the car is not on. So basically, like you turn your car off, you go home, the next morning your battery's dead. Something is sucking the draw and sucking the voltage out of the battery, so your car won't start. And I got to give it to the customer. He wrote down all his notes. He gave me the amperage readings, and he got down to the memory 2 fuse. And I guess what he was thinking was that he can come to the dealership, give the service writer the notes, and then I, as the technician, would just go based off his notes and continue and fix his problem. Unfortunately, that's not the way things work. All right. Regardless if it's a customer or if it's even another technician, I always verify work. I always have to arrive to the conclusion because not just because, especially for a customer, I can never ever trust the customer's diagnosis. I can't do it. Whether the customer is certified or used to be certified I can't do it. It's not the right thing for me to do as a professional, especially at a dealership level. It's not the right thing to do. He only authorized 1 hour of diag, which for those who know, for a parasitic draw is nowhere near enough time. Hey, listen, if you get lucky and a parasitic draw comes through and all the modules in the car shut down and you actually can get verify a parasitic draw, that's great. Unfortunately, that was not the case. That was not the case for me. I could not verify a parasitic draw. So the customer ended up, so I even went to the memory 2 fuse and tried to see if that was pulling anything just from the fuse itself, and I couldn't verify the customer concern. So the customer ended up paying for an hour of diag, and I couldn't verify his concern. Now, normally, what I don't do, I don't just go could not verify. I don't write up could not verify and leave it at that. I wrote could not verify. I wrote all the steps of what I did, performed a parasitic draw test, waited the 1 hour that the customer has authorized for diag, and within that 1 hour could not verify a parasitic draw. There was no parasitic draw. Everything was under 50 milliamps. So we were right. I even checked draw at the fuse, and draw at the fuse was like 1/1000th of an amp or something. It was almost zero. So nothing was going on. And then the customer wanted to talk to me and pick my brain and basically wanted to sit down with me for an extended period of time so I could talk to him about how to actually fix his car. And unfortunately, look, I go to work to make money. I don't know about you guys. I go to work to make money. It's not fair to me that to sit down and just give a customer knowledge for free when I could be going working, doing other things. At the end of the day, it's a business. I'm there to make money. I'm on commission, and that's just the reality of the situation. So, if you're a customer and you do your own diag and you do your own stuff, you have to put that in the back of your head, at least if you're going to a dealership. Maybe if you have a good relationship with a private shop, and that's kind of how you do things, sure, that's great. But for a guy like me, I always have to verify that the diagnosis was correct, and I also need the correct amount of time to diagnose something. Now, look, if it was a diagnosis of like, hey, my headlight doesn't work, yeah, chances are that'll take me an hour, right? Especially if it's not a bulb. If it's not a bulb, then I got to do some relatively straightforward tests. basically some voltage drops, if you guys know what I'm talking about. Those who know. Um, and then I could verify a couple things, and then maybe after the hour, if I need more time to actually do the repair, I could ask for more time to actually repair the circuit if I need to repair the circuit. Uh, but this is the balance, right? You have to have a balance of being fair and honest, and having a balance of like actually making your money. So if you're a customer and you do your own diag and you do your own repairs, you just gotta understand that when you take it to a dealership, mechanic's gonna start from ground zero, and they're gonna build it from there. Fortunately, the customer understood. Everyone kind of got it, and I guess he's gonna go and try to figure out the problem himself. And honestly, good for him. I am 100% a proponent of fixing your own stuff. I love people who fix their own stuff. I never mock anyone who tries to fix their own things. So honestly, it was really great on the customer that he got as far as he got. What I think happened is I don't think he knew how to do a proper parasitic draw test, which is why he ended up getting the results that he got, and I couldn't verify his results. There could have also been some kind of intermittent fault that is causing that parasitic fault, that parasitic draw, and I just didn't have enough time, and the conditions weren't the same when I was doing it, because it was like a week ago that he did the parasitic draw. So it was pretty cool. And that's my rundown. That's the weekly rundown. The next segment I have going is my opinion about something that's either trending or really controversial in the car community or whatever's going on in the automotive community online. And I want to talk about recalls, man. I don't know what it is, and I don't understand why manufacturers are allowed to ship vehicles and sell vehicles that don't work. Now, I remember I could give manufacturers like an excuse during 2020, 2021. Yeah, the lockdown, the shortages, the logistics was terrible. They didn't have the right semiconductors and yada, yada, yada. I get that. But I recently read that Ram diesel pickup trucks, a couple 100,000 Ram diesel pickup trucks are being recalled because of a transmission issue that would lock up the transmission, thereby locking up the rear wheels while the car is driving. How do you do that? I think those trucks are a minimum of $40,000, and they can go up to like over $100,000. And your manufacturer just goes, yeah, we know it's probably going to fail, but we'll see how many of them fail. Ford is known for shipping. I remember when the 2020 Ford Explorer first came out, it hit dealership floors with 2 different recalls. We have Toyota now, which is crazy, but I give Toyota a pass because it's the first recall. Them with the 3.5 turbo engines. Same with Honda. It's the first time they've really gotten into it. But man, how sloppy is that? It's like every other week I'm reading about a manufacturer that's coming out with a recall that's a massive safety hazard. And then, so that's terrible for the customer, right? And from the mechanic side, what ends up happening is you get a whole load of customers coming into the shop for the exact same thing, and we don't have parts. So we have to wait for the part shipments to come, and then you're just doing that same recall all day. For the most part, that's great if the recalls pay well. But a lot of times I see the recalls are just like a computer update, a module update, and it pays maybe 20 minutes. So you're sitting there pulling in a car, update, 20 minutes, write up your story, out, pulling out of the car. So you're making money 20 minutes at a time instead of 1 hour at a time. And it's just a really frustrating thing. Then it ends up making some weird pockets, of like, okay, give all of these recalls to this guy, or this guy's really good at these recalls, so maybe he'll take more of them. And this guy's really good at the other recalls, give that guy more of them. And it changes a lot of dynamics, and I'm not really cool with it. I understand if a recall is something where it's like we built something and everything was good and everything worked, but then at like 80,000 miles, this thing consistently fails. Okay, well, we're going to do an extended warranty and we're going to do a recall. That's fine. That makes sense to me. But shipping a brand new car without the proper software, with garbage parts, with terrible sourcing of materials, what I think should really happen is manufacturers should be heavily, heavily, heavily fined for gross negligence recalls. And that way they'll be incentivized to actually make something good. That's my personal opinion. And that's the end of that segment. The final segment here, I call it questions from the comments. So if you follow me on any platform, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, you could leave questions in the comment section, and I'll answer them here. So I actually got a couple of them for my first episode, which is great. I have one from Omar Knows Photos. That's Omar Knows Photos. And he asked, I have a 2014 Toyota Prius. Why is installing an aftermarket remote start system so expensive? I've been quoted $1,200. What? I've been quoted $1,200, and it's just not worth it. It's an old car, and I don't think I should have to pay that much. The installer told me it had something to do with the battery. That doesn't make too much sense to me. Now listen, I don't install remote starts. I've only installed factory remote starts. I've never installed aftermarket remote starts. So Omar Knows Photos, the first thing I would say is, if the aftermarket remote start is going to cost you $1,200, go to your local Toyota dealership and ask them how much a factory remote start would be. Maybe it'd be less, because my understanding, I think factory remote starts may be between $400 and $700, depending on like your make and model, and then it's factory, so it's probably just a plug and play, and it's gonna work the best. What I do know about remote start systems is that they're pretty advanced nowadays. You can get anything from like a simple basic remote start system to something that will like work from 2 miles away, and it'll let you know on a little smart pad what, how hot your car is, or how warmed up your car is, or whatever it is. And it'll also like lock and unlock your doors. I know that there's some splicing that has to do. I know that there's some kind of electrical stuff you have to do with immobilizers. I know that some of these aftermarket systems also have their own computers and they operate independently. So I'm not sure, but as far as something because of the battery, I think that place might just be like saying whatever they want, because I'm pretty sure the Toyota Prius has a starter that's not integrated into the transmission, so it should have just the starter circuit. But then again, I'm not sure. But what I would say, I think Omar Knows Photos, I think your best bet is to go to a Toyota dealership and see how much it costs there. It'll probably be less, I can imagine. And I hope that helped, my friend. Next question here, O_Musa96. How many turbos can you fit in a hot V? That's that's a great question. To explain to everyone what a hot V is, a hot V, you have a V engine, V6, V8, V10, V12, whatever it is. The engine looks like this. Normally, you have the intake manifold, which is where all the air is in the center, and then the exhaust manifold on the sides. With a hot V configuration, which is pretty common with modern Audis, Mercedes, and BMWs. I'm sure like other manufacturers do it too, but those are the most common that I've personally seen and worked on. It's switched up. The exhaust is in the middle, the intakes are on the sides, and then they'll put turbos, either one like big turbo like this guy, or like two small turbos, and they could be compound turbos as well, right in the center. Diesel engines also have a hot V, like the Ford Power Strokes, and they have a big old turbo right in the middle. And I'm pretty sure there's a pretty tongue-in-cheek question here, but yeah, you could fit as many turbos as you hate yourself, I think is the proper answer to that question. I mean, if you got a V6, you could fit 6 turbos if you really wanted to. If you got a V8, you could fit 8 turbos if you really wanted to. It's just how much money, how much time, and how much difficulty do you want to put yourself through. So there's your answer, my friend. I hope that helped. Next one here I have from Lens Layer. That's pretty cool. I have a 2000 Explorer XLT that I use to move things around locally. The engine and transmission are perfect, but the dash controls for things like radio and HVAC system can't be moved, otherwise they won't work. Super fun. That's a 25-year-old car almost. It also has some kind of leaking happening inside the passenger side that I suspect is either from the heater core or a clogged drain. Is it worth fixing up, or am I better off looking for another cheap old SUV or pickup? Well, excuse me. Well, lens layer, that's kind of tough. And the reason I'm saying it's kind of tough is because the used car market is pretty terrible right now. You got a 2000 Ford Explorer. I'm assuming you've had this truck for a really long time. The one thing I would say is if it smells sweet, that stuff that's dripping, if it smells sweet, that's coolant. And I would start going towards the heater core. Maybe something's clogged or broken or what have you. If it doesn't smell sweet, then I would say it's a clogged drain, and then you could try to go find out where the drain is and unclog the drain that way. Really important note, if there's sloshing behind the dashboard, right? If you got sloshing there, that's 9 out of 10 times, and only because I don't know how bad the situation is. I don't know if this vehicle is being kept under a tree and it's raining all the time, but 9 out of 10 times you got that sloshing behind the dash, that's going to be from your heater core. The only thing I would say, now listen, if you've got the money, that Explorer probably isn't worth much. Junk it, get the money for the cats, whatever it is you want to do, donate it to an automotive school, and then go ahead and pick yourself something up. But as long as there's no mold, right, that's growing, as long as nothing's like stained and there's no like mold or weird colors that are forming under the rug, and if it's just moving things around town, keep it. I mean, those Ford Explorers, if it has the 4-liter V6, pretty bulletproof, honestly. And if it's got the V8, the 2-valve V8, also pretty bulletproof. And I think those have the 5R55 transmissions. I'm not, maybe the generation before those, but it might be a 4-speed automatic. I'm not too sure what's in those right now off the top of my head, but pretty solid trucks. As long as nothing is moldy inside and you're not going to expose yourself to anything dangerous, try to drain it somehow. Remember, if it's sweet, it's coolant. If it's not sweet, it's most likely some kind of water. Drain it and take it from there, my friend. I hope that helped. And I think I have one more question here from World's Strongest Meme. This is an excellent name, World's Strongest Meme. Let's see, I have a 2014 Toyota Corolla, another Toyota, that I bought with 3 miles on it. Oh wow, so he bought it from brand new. It currently has 167,000 miles. It has been a dream and given me no problems over the years, but the accumulated wear and tear have made it known that there's a lot of maintenance repairs coming soon. The immediate things I see are struts, shocks, and springs. There's some creaking when I turn the steering wheel as well that I'm pretty sure is going to be a control arm. At this mileage, what do you think I should consider replacing that isn't just end of life, but would potentially save me the headache of lifting it back up in the year and tearing things out again? That is a great question. Wow, so this guy, World's Strongest Meme, bought a 2014 Toyota Corolla, brand spanking new in 2014, and here we are 10 years later, 167,000 miles. I'm assuming that everything on there is original, based on the question. Here's the question you have to ask yourself, World's Strongest Meme. How much longer are you going to keep this car? If you're going to keep this car till the wheels fall off, as they say, I would consider just replacing everything. You replace all the suspension, replace the springs in the back, the shocks in the back, the struts in the front, the control, all that stuff. Now, if you do want to save some money, you could just put new put new bushings in everything. So you could put new control arm bushings and new ball joints. You could put new subframe bushings in the front and in the rear. And then you could even just put new shocks and keep the springs for the struts in the front if that's really what you want to do. But you have some options. It really depends on how much money you want to spend. I will say though, if you're doing the work yourself, I would say spend more money on the parts and get the new parts, because although it's probably only the bushings that are bad, that's 10-year-old metal. I don't know where you live. Maybe it's rusty. Maybe your control arms have a good amount of rust on them. Maybe other components have rust on them. If they're rusty and you have the money, go ahead and replace them. If not, or if they're not rusty, push out the bushings and everything and replace those. Get some new tie rod ends, right? Get new suspension components. Um, if you're paying someone else to do it, I know that a lot of shops nowadays, they will not accept a customer to, at least in my area, they won't accept a customer to provide the parts. The shop has to provide the parts and the labor so that the shop can warranty both the parts and the labor. Because if you provide your own parts, you waive your right for the shop to warranty the parts or the labor, unless something was like grossly installed incorrectly. So that's kind of how it works in my area from what I know. So I will say this, regardless of whichever way you decide to go, it's going to be much cheaper to do all these repairs than it is to buy a used car today. Especially something as good as a 2014 Toyota Corolla with that much mileage might be going for $7,000 or $8,000 today. And this repair is probably going to cost you $2,000 or $3,000, depending on how much you decide to do. So that's what I would do if I was in your case. Just don't, what I would say, like, buy good quality parts. You don't necessarily have to get Toyota quality parts, but get OEM quality parts. The websites I like to use are Rock Auto and 1AAuto.com. Rock Auto gives you like a gradient of quality, and 1A Auto has just like super good quality, honestly. Like, I've used that on a bunch of my cars and a bunch of my customer cars as well. That's my answer to you, my friend. I hope that really helped. And with that, that concludes the first episode of Mech Talk. So I really appreciate everyone who watched. Please drop your questions in the comments. If there's a particular topic you want me to talk about next week, drop them in the comments. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you.